Beside that, we have talked about going to a COG, a Council of Governments, between the City of Canton, Stark County Sheriff, and the Red Center, in lieu of the SCOG handling the day-to-day operations of the CAD. We would probably look at that as a COG, Council of Governments, between them three entities, because they're the ones that would be responsible for the maintenance of that project. Not necessarily the purchase of the CAD, but the maintenance of that. So Commissioner Burnaby and I have talked about a bylaws that we would present to these three groups, and try to create this COG. Once that is created, then there's a place for that CAD to go. The county is not going to run that CAD. They will then either give to or lease to that COG, and then we would have a countywide CAD system, computer-aided dispatch system, not only for those three dispatch centers, who are the initial three, but has the ability to be connected to all of the other 4 dispatch centers that exist. So it is a system that is capable of taking care of the whole county. We'll initially start with 3 groups, and hopefully we can get Alliance, North Canton, and others connected to it. The project, the RFP included those. We start off with the 3. The connection we'll be using the same connection as we are our 911 system, so the connection is there to do. So we feel pretty good about it. I think we can move forward with it. I think our negotiations will go well. We have discussed with the City of Canton and with the Sheriff's Department and the Red Center about a records management system, which would be that wouldn't be connected. It would be connected to the CAD, but the project are 2 different projects. And the reason that we did meet with our vendor to talk about RMS is because we felt that with the 2, if we went with the CAD, that we could get a better price for RMS. And I know the city is looking for RMS. The sheriff is definitely looking for RMS, records management. And I'm not sure Jackson Township, if the police, if they were looking at it or not.
The COG, we discussed that at the last meeting we had. The reason we think that we need a new COG, even though it's on top of existing ones, SCOG does not work because of the funding agreement. We're funded solely through local government funding from all 35 political subdivisions, and so if you weren't participating, there was no way really to divide that up among everyone. It doesn't work to use the existing system that the Red Center has, Logic, because again, that's a structure just between the 22 or 23 entities out there for dispatching, and they have a different formula. And so really we need a formula that deals with the 3 entities and a buy-in for others. So that's why we're looking at it. The mayor had thrown out the idea that county government operated. I think that there's probably more confidence in everybody's mind if we create a COG, because that way everybody going into this thing are equal players and have equal shares of it. And whether or not you have confidence in today's county government, and I don't know whether you do or don't or so forth. We don't know what tomorrow's county government will be like. So I think that we're always safer, with probably a COG type of structure.
Well, I trust the people to make good decisions at the county level.
Today or tomorrow, okay.
No, this is, I'm excited about this. This is very, very exciting in reference to not only being able to get the upgrade for the city of Canton, but for the opportunity to bring these 3 units together with the ability to add everybody else as you evolve. And
Joe, on the record management thing,
yes,
if you can give me a call tomorrow, there might be a couple other options.
Okay.
That at least to throw out there to look at that might already be in place that could be utilized.
Okay, we would do that. And records management on a countywide level, and we talked about that especially on the police side, is that if you have a criminal that's in Canton and you have a records management system for that criminal in Canton, that's where it stays. But if you have a countywide records management system that includes that criminal, it goes to Jackson, it goes to Massillon, it could go to Alliance if they tied into that RMS system. It would go to the sheriff. I mean, you share all of that information that today is just in your own niche, and you share that with everybody else. And we think, even though that's not part of my position for CAD, it's really an important thing for the county. And I think the mayor, I think you are interested in the RMS.
Well, absolutely, because we've instructed the criminals to stay within their own communities, but they don't listen to us, and so it would be very helpful when they get out of line.
We don't need to put boundaries for the
We appreciate it.
Sorry.
Thank you.
A couple other points for all you to take back. Really, the biggest part of this is really it does enhance safety. It's the first time that we'll have the capability for a lot of entities. You know, the Red Center brings 22 different entities. The sheriff covers a lot of political subdivisions. To actually see where we're at. Those arguments is that Plain Township or is it a Jackson Township call on Whipple, will be a lot of those calls will be solved by this CAD system. It's the first real step to regionalized dispatching because it does give us that capability. I just can't imagine how much better things are going to be once this gets into play. And the ones that are not participating, I believe one day they'll just about financially have to. When I remember looking at the numbers, some of the ones like North Canton and Perry Township, it'll just become so financially better to get into a dispatch that it's going to happen. And then on the downside, Tom, the only thing that I see that needs to be looked at for legal side is I don't know, since the Red Center is a COG and it represents 22 different political subdivisions, I don't know if a COG could contract with a COG. You might have to sign 22 different contracts. So it's something we need to look at.
We did discuss
Thought
it.
about it, but don't-
So we have a SCOG, we have a COG,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna have a OG inside the SCOG. I don't know, I'm confused.
And then we are leveraging to get costs down for the financial package. Jackson has, in fact, I had a lunch with Pat from your department and New World in reference to Jackson. So we are leveraging these costs, the RMS system, the financial system, and the financial system brings a whole lot of other things to the city or to Jackson Township. There's a collection system involved. I think you're even using it for billing for water and things like that. So
It's a new day.
Yeah.
It really is.
I'm just thinking all that information coming in from the original stop in the street somewhere can go back to government, to whether it's fire for billing or police for calls later that they're going to have, you know, how many wrecks do you have in such and such an area. All that can be loaded one time now from the CAD system instead of re-entering it back into a police department later. So we really are moving on this thing to broaden the whole county.
Thing to lose, Joe.
I know it is, trust me. But originally, as you know, we wanted to bring all the dispatch centers into one or two buildings and have one big dispatch center. But what we've created here is a virtual dispatch center, a countywide center that will be connected by technology. So in essence, we haven't reduced dispatch numbers, but we will have the ability to connect all of our dispatch centers together, both from a CAD standpoint and a 911 system standpoint. And that's what was our goal. I mean, our goal is to bring everybody into one, but this will still create a countywide dispatch system within Stark County. I think it's a great thing. It's technology, it's the cloud, but I think it's a step in the right direction, and someday when I'm gone, somebody's going to think of bringing everybody into one building because it'll be cheaper, but
Yeah, that's a good idea.
yeah, that's a good idea. We should try that.
I think we thought of it. just
Yeah, we
very
did
fine.
think about it. Okay, thank you, that's all I
So,
have.
do you have any relationship on feedback from BCI on the DNA stuff?
In terms of,
Well, the issues that's coming up is the majority of DNA actually goes down. It's not from a case. I mean, they're mandatory. There's a ton of laws out there. They're DNA mandatory. The officers have these DNA kits that they carry in their car, and they do a swab, and they must send them in. And what we're finding is we're getting docket entries that say DNA's been reported, and because the officer sent it down. And then what happens is it wasn't a good sample. And then they come back and say, we really don't have your DNA. So the next time the guy gets arrested, they read DNA was taken, they don't take it. Because nobody's coming in and taking it back out when you have a bad sample. Is there any suggestions of how we could fix that?
I think that we really haven't spoken directly with BCI because I know that was an issue. North Canton had brought that to our attention because of
That's how we
CJIS
found out
showing,
about it, right.
showing that the sample was collected, so they're not collecting it only to find out it wasn't actually in the database. But I think we can touch base with them and see what avenue, because if it would be, in my opinion, would be a communication from somehow working out a communication from BCI to the agencies to let them know it wasn't a suitable sample. I think that's where the communication link has been lost. The samples are being sent as required, but there's no communication back to say whether that has been entered. I didn't know if anything had been worked on in CGIS end of having.
When I retired, they're in the process of trying to get an actual line so that we could read their database.
Read it to see that it
When
was
they report to
formally
CODIS,
in.
we would see the same thing.
Okay,
And I don't think that happened because they were in the process of having an issue with their database, if you remember at the time.
right.
But if you could help with that, maybe a call down there could help.